The butter chocolate combination.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. So 2 weeks ago we were studying this part that starts with verses like Allahu khaliqu kulli shay'in wa huwa ala kulli shay'in wakil, and some other verses where the emphasis was God is the creator of all things, and He is the guardian and disposer of all affairs. The verse continues, "Lahu maqalidu samawati wal ard." To Him belong the keys of the heavens and the earth. So there were some other verses like that, where the main message in there was everything belongs to God. But what does this everything mean? And in there we were last time studying, there were two ways to take this everything. We could have said that in general, yeah, everything in here belongs to Him, or God must be someone who is so strong, sort of. But author was saying that in such version of knowing God, it is easy to attribute ownership of some specific stuff to something else. So he was saying that instead there is another way of understanding the Creator, in which individually you can know that God is the owner of this, God is the owner of that as well, God is the owner of everything, or you are 100% sure of this type of a thing. So this we were studying. So I would suggest starting from the beginning again, because last time we were able to go through half of it. We will read again the first part, and then just to refresh our memories what we discussed last time, then we can pick it up from there. Is that okay? Abdurrahman, would you like to read for us?
From first flash, or all the meaning?
Let's start from first flash.
And then where did we stop?
So let's read until the beginning of next page.
The affirmation of divine unity is of two sorts. For example, if the goods of a rich man arrive in a market or a town, there are two ways in which one may know they are his. One is briefly and simply, as with ordinary people, which is, no one apart from him is capable of owning this vast amount of goods. But when under the supervision of a common man such as that, much of it may be stolen. Many others may claim ownership of parts of it. The second sort is this. Through reading his writing on every packet, recognizing his signature on every roll, and seeing his seal on every bill, the man declares everything belongs to that person. Here, everything in effect shows the important man. Similarly, the affirmation of divine unity, Tawheed, is of two sorts. One is a superficial and common affirmation of divine unity, which says, Almighty God is one. He has no partner or like. This universe is His. The second is the true affirmation of divine unity, which, through seeing on everything the stamp of His power, the seal of His dominicality, and the inscriptions of His pen, is to open a window directly onto His light from everything, and to confirm and believe with almost a certainty of seeing it, that everything emerges from the hand of His power, and that in no way has He any partner or assistant in His Godhead, or in His dominicality, or in His sovereignty, and thus to attain to a sort of perpetual awareness of the divine presence. In this word, we shall mention rays demonstrating this pure and elevated true affirmation of divine unity.
Let's stop here. First, let's talk about what he said so far. Anything that attracts your attention that you would like to emphasize? What do you think? Or maybe a summary? Let me ask it this way. What is wrong with the first way of saying Tawheed that he is suggesting with the second one?
The first way allows a common man to also maybe claim ownership of it. Like, it's not so clear. Like, yeah, you have an idea that this much wealth can only belong to one person, but still someone else can come and say, actually, no, that's mine. Like, it's not so clear. But then the second way, every little thing also has a signature on it. So you don't have that doubt that something belongs to that person. Because everything has his name on it.
And practically, what does this imply? I mean, why shall you be concerned when it comes to belief, like belief in God? Why shall you take the extra burden of trying to see the signature on everything?
It seems to me like it's not as much of a definition difference, because at least for me, I think it's the same definition. Everything is versus looking at one thing and just recognizing that every literal thing. It's the same thing, but it's a mindset difference.
And
So
what,
it's, yeah.
what sort of a difference does it
Yeah.
make practically?
So it's kind of like the difference. It's like saying that everything is belongs to Allah and knowing that that's true. But then if somebody else were like, what the example is saying, that's any person can then claim ownership of something. If somebody tries to do that and say like, oh no, I am the king of this land or whatever, then, and you just accept that and just don't think too much about how it actually does belong to Allah, versus everything you see reminding yourself all the time. Every single thing, when you see something reminding yourself.
Yeah. Good, very good.
I feel like part of it is also the distance and proximity, right? Like sometimes like people have this idea almost like Allah is first cause, right? And you find this, even some Christians I've talked to, they have this idea that, you know, Allah is the original, right? But they don't feel that intimacy, that everything is sort of there, you know, and they kind of feel, so then they carry the burden of thinking that they have to do things, you know, whereas with this, that's like it's the more intimate, that Allah is with you always. And
yeah, and when we say that in a general way, He controls everything. So what would be a more practical example of saying that when I say He controls everything, that it's going to give me some sort of a burden along the lines that you were saying?
I mean, I think like maybe not the controls everything sort of thing. Does that make sense? Because
yeah, for instance, when we say, even if you ask it to a Muslim or somebody who claims to be a believer, say that who makes this? We say, yeah, God does everything. God controls everything, or God is creating everything. So this sort of a generalized, and I guess if we make a questionnaire across MSA students, most will say, yeah, God does everything. God creates everything.
I feel like part of it is how do you talk about the causing, right? Like, okay, God, you know, some people they're like, okay, God does, but sort of doesn't think about, like, sets things in motion. It's like, you know, the people here, they put the lab thing, just go in the lab and then they go off and it just runs and they're not there as the thing runs in the lab. So I think people sometimes have that perspective.
Yeah. So what happens in this case? I mean, author was saying that it is more like somebody can claim ownership in that specific case.
Yeah.
So in our practical life, what does this sound like? Who is claiming ownership over things instead of God? What does it look like? When in the example, it's clear. So somebody claims ownership, even if we say, yeah, everything belongs to him. Somebody comes and claims ownership over it.
So is it the cause that's claiming ownership?
For example,
Or any intermediary, right? So like anyone who might say that they have authority over your life or try to create dependency or, you know.
so is this only for humans, or it can be anything?
I mean, anything, I think that, yeah, it could be. For
Yeah, I'm
some
just
people.
trying to make some practical examples. I mean, all the answers are good, but I'm just trying to,
So is it like the example of gravity last week?
yeah.
So
For
like people associate gravity with the power to sort of drop something on the floor, or it's like Allah that's allowing gravity to drop something on the floor, and He just puts mechanisms in place that let it happen, but the mechanisms aren't really the thing doing it. You know, it's just Allah assigning power, and if He decides not to assign a power, then you see miracles like this floating in the air.
Yeah. So in this case, for example, in your case, gravity would be whatever gravity is.
Yeah.
Is going to be the agent that is doing the job.
Yeah.
So gravity steals the ownership
But
of.
yeah, but it doesn't steal ownership because I forgot what those two examples were, but like how they were like a king and the sort of like
The jeweled crown.
sorry. No, like there's a king and then there's ministers. The ministers don't really have power,
Mhm,
right? They have to ask the king for everything.
mhm,
It's the same thing with like all the causes.
mhm.
Like they don't really cause anything. They only do what Allah wills the cause to do.
Yeah, this part we will come to. Yes, you're right. But again, in this case, those, let's say, ministers of that king,
Mhm.
they are not the rulers, meaning that they are not putting giving the command,
Mhm.
yet they are partners in action.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So still they are claiming some sort of an ownership, partially, in terms of action, not in terms of rulership, but in terms of action, they are partners.
Okay.
So gravity in this case, even if one says that, God creates everything, God creates gravity, but now gravity works by itself, for instance. Still, in this sort of an understanding, gravity steals some sort of
Yeah.
ownership.
I can see maybe a practical example if you're trying to get at how do people think where might this make a problem for somebody? I can think maybe like Allah's use of angels, like saying things like there's an angel that moves clouds,
Mhm,
or there's an angel that takes souls, or there's an angel that does this.
mhm.
Like why would Allah use an
Intermediary.
intermediary for something? What is the meaning? What is the role of that, of the intermediary?
Yeah. Or even, for example, when you say, along the same lines, the same thing applies to fruits. Fruits are coming from where? Trees. So is it like when I say God creates everything, let's say, this is my claim, but if I am, for example, thinking that, God creates trees, but fruit comes from tree. So for example, am I trying to feed my tree in my garden better with the hope that tree is going to give me better fruits? From whom am I expecting fruit? Because each and every time we receive fruit from tree. This is so far in our lives we kept receiving fruit from tree. But when I say God creates everything, okay, I mean, good in my mouth, this is my understanding. But when I'm trying to get a better fruit, from whom am I asking for fruit? Am I asking it from the tree, or am I asking it from the creator? Who is the creator in this case? And of course, it depends. When I say from whom am I asking, when we say asking, most likely we remember opening my hands and say, oh God, give me good apples. It wouldn't work for sure. I mean, just opening your hands and asking for better fruit. So this might make you feel like I need to ask it from the tree, not from God. So such questions come into needed to be answered. So this is why there is this very practical value of this statement, saying that if I can see that God is truly creating everything, He is creating the apple tree, He is creating the apple as well, then it's going to be a different understanding. But if I'm thinking that, no, God creates apple tree, but I receive apple from apple tree. This is why I should go and ask apple from apple tree. Then what happens is, if you apply it to your boss, you and your boss, God gives wealth to my boss. I need to be in good relations with my boss because I am going to receive it from my boss. Yeah, I can overall say that God is the owner of wealth. But when it comes to going to the work, if I'm becoming nervous, then I need to question, why am I being nervous? Am I being afraid of my boss? So these are all the implications of this, maybe not truly being convinced in my personal life, maybe not being truly convinced that God is the creator of everything. So these are the things that are really the practical side of this matter. This is why the author was saying that at the end of the paragraph that starts with the second, said that thus, to attain to a sort of perpetual awareness of the divine presence. So how much am I aware of divine presence? Because Quran claims that we are closer to you than your jugular vein. Do I really feel like it? Or is it just like I need to imagine it? For example, when my mom calls and tells me that, oh son, I am close to you. No matter how distant we are over the map, I am very close to you. I would say, yes, mom, I feel it. But I know that this is more like a words that we are speaking. Yeah, in terms of our hearts, we are together. But I also know that if I happen to fall now, she will not be able to come and pick me up. So there's some sort of a distance. So yeah, in words, there's some sort of a closeness for sure. But when God says, I am closer to you than your jugular vein, am I understanding it as my mom being close to me? Or is it truly like he is very literally close to me? Am I truly feeling that? For that, I guess these verses are saying that he is really the creator of everything, with the emphasis on everything. And since the beginning of those discussions, we were saying that we are planning to follow a different path. We are going to take scripture, Quran, as a guidance. But what does that mean? I'm going to keep repeating this throughout our discussions. Guidance means like a signpost. And a signpost shows you a direction. Let's say you are in New York, you see this Philadelphia sign. If you are planning to come to Philadelphia, you said that, okay, this signpost points towards Philadelphia. Let's go and see if this is true. How do you verify truthfulness of this message? You follow the path, you come to Philadelphia, and you say that, yes, this was true. Now, how about this verse? The verse is saying that Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. How do you verify that? A huge claim. God says Allah is the creator of everything. And he is the guardian of everything. Meaning that he takes care of everything one by one. How do you take it as a guidance? What would that mean? How would you verify it, Doctor?
I'd probably start for myself. Like, do I actually believe that I am creating things, or do I actually believe I'm in power? And I quickly realized no. And then I realized, I am being created, or my actions are being created, and my thoughts, like what I'm saying right now, these are just being created. I have no idea where they're coming from. And then I'd start looking around me, and I'd start questioning things that I see, and be like, can one thing actually cause another thing? Like, is there, like, weigh them on the scale and see if they actually make sense? And that's how I would go about it.
So you'll go through things and see if all of them are, where are they coming from? And this verse is claiming that all of them are coming from a single source, right? There's only one way to verify this. Go and check it. Otherwise, without going and checking it, how would I be able to confirm truthfulness of this message? Right? Even if I say that, yeah, I believe in Quran, whatever Quran says, I believe that this sign takes me to Philadelphia. What does it mean? Does it have any value, a practical value? And if I don't follow the sign, if I don't go and see that actually the sign is truly pointing to Philadelphia, me saying that or believing that this sign really takes you to Philadelphia doesn't help me at all. So it should have some sort of a practical value for me. If this verse is saying that God is the creator of everything, for this message to be valuable or useful, I need to take it as a guidance, see if it works, and if it works, then what the author is saying in here will be the true case, meaning that I will feel the presence of him everywhere. Because this kulli shay'in, everything, means the words that you are speaking, the air that I'm breathing in, these are all part of everything that's happening right now. Consider everything happening in this room. This room is being illuminated. What does it? Is it this light bulb that is illuminating the room? If the verse is correct, it is saying that no, this illumination, God is creating it right now. It's not that you switch it on, because we can test it. I switch it off, room is not illuminated. I switch it on, room is illuminated, and I say, therefore it must be light. Light is illuminating the room, not God, I might say. The verse is saying, no, it's not. God is the creator of everything, including this interaction that you observe over there. So this was the main motivation. Now let's read a reminder within the first point.
A reminder within the first point. O heedless worshipper of causes, causes are a veil, for divine dignity and grandeur require them to be thus. But that which acts and performs matters is the power of the eternally besought one. For divine unity and glory require it to be thus and necessitate their independence. The officials of the pre-eternal monarch are not executives of the sovereignty of dominicality. They are the heralds of his sovereignty and the observers and superintendents of his dominicality. Their purpose is to make known the dignity of power and majesty of dominicality, so that power should not be seen to be associated with base and lowly matters, not like a human king, tainted by impotence and indigence, who therefore takes officials as partners. That is to say, causes have been placed so that the dignity of power may be preserved in the superficial view of the mind.
So let's stop there. So he started with, after making these two classifications about belief in oneness of God, he directly started saying that, O heedless worshipper of causes. So what are causes? We talked about them before, but just to warm up our minds more. What would be some causes that you can think of very quickly?
Light bulb.
Light bulb is a cause, right? Or electricity is another cause for the light. Or for the color of the wall, for example. There is a certain color.
Medicine.
Medicine is another cause, yeah, for getting healthy. So for the color, you say that it's the chemistry of the surface, whatever was in the paint. It causes the color to occur in there. A lot of things. All around us, if I say such and such happens, you would say, why did it happen? Even if I say such and such died, the first question you would ask, what happened? Was it a sickness? Was it a traffic accident? Everything is with causes. But now the author is saying that all worship or heedless worshiper of causes. Have you ever worshipped causes in your life?
I know what you mean by worship. Then.
Yeah. What do you think worship might mean here?
No, I've never worshipped.
Like that? Okay, good.
But I just, if I was scared about, I don't know. If you just think about it as like paying respect to something,
Mhm.
just because of the something. For example, like I don't go near fire. Like I respect fire as like a thing that I don't touch because it burns me.
Mhm.
So in that sense, I obey the rules that fire gives me.
Mhm.
Fire says if I touch it, I will burn you, so I don't touch it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you know that you have limitations before fire.
Mhm.
So you feel like you are weak before fire.
Yeah.
So
So I'll
you-
never transgress it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you never transgress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good example. So what else? What I mean, it was a good starting point actually. What would worship mean? Worshipper of causes, right? It's a good question. So recognizing your neediness or weakness in front of that thing, and you ask from it. So you recognize your neediness and you see the superiority over it. This is why you are either fearful of it or try to get your need from it, ask for your need from it. This would be worshiping. Because worshiping is this mindset. You wouldn't worship to somebody who you think is less than you, who is lower than you, because you don't need that person or you don't need that thing. But if you are needy, then you will ask from that. So in my life, the author is saying, as if, if I take it personal, his speech in here, "O heedless worshipper of causes." Out of my heedlessness, I might be worshiping causes, as if this is how I'm reading it. Maybe not intentionally. I'm not going and saying, okay, I worship the causes. But
I just feel like this can happen just in society, right? Like here in a university, right? We can go through days and not think of Allah and just be focused on exams and studying, right? And you're seeing like this is a cause, right? The university degree, is a means, that we're pursuing. And so the studying is a means, the classes, and you put all your time focused on that, and what's going to help me get the good grade? What's going to help me get the degree? And if you're not thinking of Allah in that entire process, and not connecting with Allah in the entire process, then that's heedless. I'm not kidding, but the whole society is set up for that way, right?
Yeah.
Like that we are told to like pursue the means, and and we're not reminded to remember.
Yeah. And it's also a question, why shall I remember, right? And if by studying more, I'm going to be more successful, and if everything is already out there, so why shall I force myself to believe in God? And if using this medicine is curing me, if studying more helps me pass class, if eating this food, brownie, is making me full, then what is God? Who is God? Because actually, if this cookie is truly feeding me, if medicine is truly healing me, then what is God? Why would you need an extra concept? For what? What is the purpose of talking about such a concept, right? Because generally what's happening is we are bringing our thought, let's say, from outside, saying that we heard from someone that God exists, whatever, and we are trying to as if justify it. But looking at our lives, cookie is feeding me, medicine is healing me in my perception. Studying more is bringing me success. And there's no place for life, for God in my practical life anyways, but maybe just to feel good. For some other reason, I say there's God. So now we need to question, am I truly happy with this cookie feeding me? Is it truly feeding me? Or a medicine, is it really healing me?
I feel like part of it is that it's finite, right? Like any of those things are finite, both in the sense that I really enjoyed that brownie, right? But, later tonight I'm going to go home and I'm going to be hungry and there's not going to be a brownie, for one thing. So it's finite in terms of its, time, but it's also limited in terms of its availability. Like, and it's not always going to be there. So even if it's, there at some point in time, it's not going to be there at some point in time.
That's right. So in that sense, it's going to be insufficient because your desires are endless, your needs are endless. Does it even fit for a moment? And is it okay to say that at least for a moment, this is feeding me? Is it really the case?
I think that it's giving some aspect, but not entirely, no.
But
because if I didn't have oxygen, I wouldn't be enjoying the brownie. And the brownie's not giving me oxygen.
Right.
And there's a lot that needs to happen for a cookie to feed you. So, just if you put a cookie in your mouth and then spit it out, it didn't feed you. Or if you swallow a cookie and then throw up, it didn't feed you. Or if
your blood doesn't flow through your veins, then it's not gonna.
Or somehow it just goes straight through and nothing happens and didn't feed you. But there are many things that have to happen along the way. and there's like an uncountable number of things that have to go well for it to happen.
Yeah.
And so when you think of it as a whole, then yeah, the cookie didn't do it. It's all the other processes.
Yeah, so it happens all together. So it's not that individually cookie can feed you. Everything all at once has to happen, and this is just part of the story. So this is why if cookie cannot do everything, it cannot feed me either.
If I was, I think if I was going to say that the cookie feeds me, that would just mean that, like, if I looked at the cookie and then I was full, like if it was a direct, like it makes me alive just by like being there. That's what that would mean, but that's not what it is.
Actually, this is we are going to a very good point actually. So for cookie to feed you, then the whole mechanism in here is needed to work. But this whole mechanism is also, for this to work, also the whole, let's say, solar system needs to work, because me is part of that system. This is how the being is. Everything is so much intricate. So if cookie cannot turn the earth around sun, then cookie cannot feed me, because it's coming as a whole package. This is how the existence is actually. Everything is so much interrelated. If you cannot move a single particle, you cannot move the sun. Do you see the relation there? Which means if one cannot create everything, then it cannot create anything. So this is why Allahu khaliqu kulli shay means khaliq, the creator in this existence, because this is based on what we observe. Maker of one thing, a single thing, has to be the maker, doer, creator of everything else. Otherwise, even a single thing wouldn't be made, wouldn't be created. This is how the existence is.
Because I think the interconnectivity of everything and the interdependency of all creation, that if there was some other creator, the systems would clash and collapse each other.
Yeah.
For instance.
So, because this is what we observe, right? And based on observation, you're observing that everything is so much interrelated, and whoever is moving even a single particle from here to here, because if you just imagine that you became the Neo on the movie Matrix, now you see everything as this flowing green things. This would translate to, instead of seeing humans around you, you just see particles moving all around. Because every single one of us is simply particles moving all around, right? Chemistry, right? Just go to the subatomic level, it's like electrons spinning all over the place. So moving of a single particle means doing the whole thing. Whoever moves a single particle has to be the one who is moving or making the whole things in here. So if I say that it happens because of cookie, if the cookie cannot move all the particles in my body, and cannot move the sun over there, it cannot feed me.
It's just moved particles.
Because it itself is part of simple particles. So this is how we are unconsciously worshipping causes. We say that, I need to study more so that I'm going to receive success from exam. So my heedlessness in here makes me think that source of my success is my study. Or if I'm sick, I say that if I use this medicine, I'm getting healthy. So source of my health is this medicine. But there is some heedlessness that makes me say that. This is the part. I am not seeing part of the picture, which makes me jump to this wrong conclusion. It's not a correct conclusion. Because our logic was, if I don't take this medicine, I don't get healed. And actually, this is our method, scientific method. So you take 10 patients, to 5 of them, you give those placebo pills. To other 5, you give real pills, and you see if these guys, the ones that you give real pill, are cured. And if you say, yeah, see, we give them, half of them, we didn't give medicine. The other half, we gave medicine. The one that we gave medicine is cured. Therefore, that means medicine is curing them. This is being our thought process. But is this a correct thought process? This is what we are questioning here. The author in here is saying that
Placebo still works sometimes.
so lack of it, right? So that means there's some sort of heedlessness. I am making some sort of an incorrect judgment and worshipping the pill, medical pill, saying that it does the job.
But at the same time, right? Like there's the recognizing that there is sunnah law, right? So you could do the same thing, right? You could conduct the same experiment, but be understanding like, okay, I want to understand better how Allah sunnahs work. You
So
know?
this would be our conclusion. I agree with that, but this would be our conclusion. Because by giving the medicine, shall I start as saying that God is the creator and let me see how he works? Or shall I say that let me see if this medicine is going to work or what is really going on in here? Let's see what's going on in here. So I gave the medicine and the guy got cured. Now I ask the question, is it really possible that this medicine cures this person? So I need to ask this question in order to arrive to what the author is saying, this true affirmation of divine unity. I need to ask the question, can it be the medicine that gives cure? What is required for this medicine to give cure?
The one who actually cures.
So the one, because curing of medicine is again like the cookie. Putting the medicine in my mouth, this body is, everything is so much interconnected again. So the one who made my whole body and also the one who made the whole universe can be the curer of my eyes, let's say. But this particle, like the medicine, just some external stuff, I put it into my mouth. Is it capable of governing the universe? This sort of a question needs to come. And then I would say, since it's not medicine that cures me, then who is curing me? There must be someone who cures me. And he is just showing me that he is the curer through this medical pill. Because I wouldn't know that he is the curer if there were no medicine or nothing. And how would you know the healer if there were no healing? As humans, we are in need of some sort of manifestation. This is what I'm trying to say. So I am in need of this medicine to go through this questioning process and eventually arrive to the conclusion that there has to be a curer, but this medicine is not that curer. If the medicine didn't exist in there in the first place, I wouldn't know that. This is why I am in need of this medicine. Not to give me cure, but to tell me about cure.
If we didn't have to use medicine to get cured, if Allah just cured us, then we wouldn't even think about it.
But
And sometimes Allah just
we
gives
would never
Taking
question
medicine.
anything which would lead to, oh, we just don't get sick. So
and even you
there's
wouldn't,
always something.
there wouldn't be any God for us. Just think of it this way. How do we know God? You wouldn't even ever, I know the Creator through what I observe, what I experience. So for example, I don't have those wireless sensors. If you don't have any wireless sensors, and if somebody comes and says that there's wireless signal in this room, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what wireless is. I don't know what wireless signal is. But if I am given a wireless signal, if I know a way to receive it, then I will start questioning source of it. So this is how the existence is for me. If I experience something, then I question its source. This is why belief is also going to be based on my experiences. So I experience something, I experience hunger, then I experience food in it, then I say, okay, what satisfied my hunger? Is it food that satisfies my hunger or what? Because it's going to be a very easy jump to say that God is providing me. Which God? I mean, it is cookie that provides me, as if, because I put the cookie into my mouth and my hunger disappeared. So I should initially say that, well, maybe it is cookie that really satisfies my hunger.
You're making me think of the story of Omar and his idols. He made that idol out of the dates, and then he That's right. There's a story of Omar, like when they asked about the things that make you laugh or cry from before they were Muslim. And he says, one thing that makes me laugh is that I was traveling once, and so I made an idol out of a block of dates, and I worshipped it. But then I got hungry and I ate it. Sorry.
And this is, I mean, this is how practically it is. And if we see, again, in the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Quran, so he knows that he is being provided. I mean, this body is being provided. I sleep and I wake up. Like, who made me wake up? Because I was in a hibernate state, as if somebody woke me up. Or how does this body function? So this Ibrahim person is very much aware that he is being taken care of. And he says, who is taking care of me then? Then he starts questioning with the moon, with the stars, with the sun, and then concludes that none of them is really fulfilling me or providing me, satisfying me. Then he arrives to a conclusion. Likewise, what is going to be the star or moon or sun that I'm going to question? Start from the medical medicine. Because now I am saying that I am healed from a sickness. So what is the nearest thing to me that I can start questioning? Pill itself. I need to ask the question, can this pill cure me or not? And this is a very prophetic path. Quran is teaching and encouraging us, with the example of Ibrahim alayhi salam, to say that go and ask. Because without the medicine, you wouldn't know the healing. Here, there is medicine. But what if medicine is providing you or healing you? I need to ask the question. Because if I say, no, God cures me, then 2,000 years ago, somebody from Greece would come up and say that, no, Zeus heals you. What difference is there? There needs to be some sort of an evidence for me. I mean, if I am laughing at the idea of Zeus, is it just a change of name? You say Allah, they say Zeus. Or do I have a real reason to say that, no. First of all, I am 100% sure there has to be a healer. Let it be medicine or let it be something else. But I take, before I was sick, now I am healed. So what did this? In the case of Ibrahim, he sees that he is being taken care of, and he knows that he's not taking care of himself. So he asks the question, who takes care of me? Then he starts considering options. He sees that, there's this shining thing at night, which is star. And in my day-to-day life, it might be a medicine again, because in the darkness of my sickness, a new medicine might be my hope of light, like in the darkness of sickness, as if this medicine is this hope of light, small light from far. Then I ask the question, can this medicine cure me? If it's not the medicine, then comes another sun, which is like a professor from Harvard came, and they say that he cures everything. Now I need to ask the question, can this professor cure me? Can he be or she be the source of my health? What is required for curing me? I need to ask those questions. And if I can say that, yes, this doctor can cure me, end of story. No need for going to God, because I already find the source. I was looking for a source and I found the source. Is it really possible that this doctor can cure me? What is required for curing me? Right. So this is why Ibrahim alayhi salam kept looking for everything. He said, no, star cannot cure me, moon cannot, sun cannot. He said, still, somebody must. Because it's time, it's an ongoing thing. I have been kept alive for the last 33 years. It's an ongoing, and still I am being kept alive. And right now, I don't know how I am being kept alive. Who keeps me alive? Who makes me move those hands and utter those words? How does this happen? But this is why he says, since, for example, the sun sets, he says, okay, sun is gone, but still I am alive. So it cannot be sun who is providing me. My provider needs to be with me 24/7. So this is how he eliminates those options out there. And eventually he says, my maker needs to be someone who cannot set. Is there anything in this existence who doesn't set? Everything perishes. Nothing stays still. Everything changes. Nothing is constant. So, but there must be a constant, non-changing one who is going to provide me. This is the conclusion of Ibrahim alayhi salam.
That even brings in another aspect about things like medicine. So not only does the idea that more when you take medicine, your body has to work for the medicine to work. We talked about that. But then also the medicine is very easily corruptible. It can go bad over time. There could be a mistake in the making of the medicine, things like that. So then it's not consistent in the same way.
Yeah.
It can be made really expensive by pharmaceutical companies.
So in this paragraph, the author was warning us against this pitfall, actually. He says that which acts and causes are a veil. For divine dignity and grandeur require them to be thus, but that which acts and performs matters is the power of the eternally besought one. So causes are veils. We talked about this last time, but do you remember what it sounds like? What does it mean to be a veil? What's a veil?
The curtain.
Like a curtain.
It hides stuff.
Yeah, it hides something behind it, so it's a curtain. So one way to take it was.
But you talked about the projection as well.
Yeah, this was the second part.
Screen.
Yeah, for the screen. So the first part, let's say now you don't see my hand, and if I hold something with this, so who is holding this? From outside, you see that it's a cloth that's holding it.
The sweater is holding it.
So as if he is implying.
And without a pocket too. Without using the pocket.
So causes are a veil as if it covers something behind it. But he says they are not the actual doors either. They're just covering up something behind them. And why you would never say that the cloth is, or sweater is holding this? Why wouldn't you say that? This is what you see. Why would you never, even if I claim that, look, the most close thing in this interaction is, here is the object, and here's the cloth. This is the most close thing that you can attribute this action to. Why wouldn't you accept it? Because
we're 100% sure that there's a hand.
Why are you, if you haven't seen this part, let's assume you don't see me, why would you say that it wouldn't?
A sweater doesn't know how to carry a phone.
Fair.
Yeah, sweaters don't function like that. And we know you have a hand that we don't see.
Yeah, but you would say that this action of holding it up, what does it require? It requires how to hold things. So it requires some sort of knowledge. And it requires some sort of a power, because now I'm holding it up, right? And it also requires some sort of a veil, because it's being held up. It's not somebody's holding it.
That's every reason.
But you see that this sweater doesn't have a knowledge, doesn't have a veil, doesn't have a power.
Oh.
So why you say automatically It cannot do that. It doesn't make sense. But if it is not sweater, then what it is? You keep asking. But easily you discard that the sweater is doing it because it doesn't match, right? Actually, again, another story in Quran is being a perfect example for that. Again, Ibrahim alayhi salam's case. His people were worshippers of idols. So what he did, he breaks all the idols, but leaves the large idol out there and puts the axe to the neck of this large idol, and he leaves the scene. People come and see that all the idols are destroyed, the large one is staying there. What do they think immediately? Who did this to our gods? So they say there was this boy messing up with our gods. Call him. They call Ibrahim to the scene. And then they say, Ya Ibrahim, what happened to our gods? What does he do? He just points to the large idol. He wants them to question. So what is he doing in there really? So
trying to show them that they have no power.
Because what is required to break idols?
Something within it, like
Movement
Intellect, ability to move,
Yeah.
power, will. These are all required. So people know that. Then by pointing to the idol, what does Ibrahim tell to them?
that this idol doesn't have any of those.
Because they should have immediately assumed.
No, they did assume. But
No, they didn't. They didn't think it was. They assumed it was a human.
no, I'm saying like they assumed it was a human. He's like, obviously it was a human because something like this wouldn't have the will and power.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And he's saying that if they really believed that that was God, they would just assume immediately that it was the God that did it, but they didn't.
So they know, everybody implicitly knows that this idol doesn't have any of those abilities. Now Ibrahim alayhi salam is making them, turning back to themselves and say that if this cannot move, if this cannot like have intellect or will or power, anything, how can it be my creator that I'm going to worship it? So this is how you discard a false God actually. It doesn't match. The effect, the result in this case was breaking of idols. This is the effect. And what is the cause? Ibrahim is suggesting that the cause is this idol. The cause and effect. Effect requires what? Intellect, power, will. Does the cause have any of them?
No.
No. So you discard this. When you put Ibrahim into the scale again, what happens? Ibrahim has power, Ibrahim has will, Ibrahim has knowledge, and he is angry with the gods as well. So he can truly break them.
it's interesting because like you're talking like we have this idea of mankind being created in God's image, right? And I just feel like it's almost as if we are made a metaphor to like understand these aspects of ability and will and intellect, because we have will, and you know what I'm saying. And so if we didn't, like, our existence becomes like that a metaphor to actually know God better.
It is, yes.
You skip like 100 steps.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Next steps. Yeah.
You're too far ahead of us.
Oh, so sorry.
That's right, but it's 200 steps away, right?
Okay,
Not even 100.
it was about a month away, maybe.
Don't come to these lessons for like 2 months and then
Yeah, for 2 years. So, but in this very simple example, Quran is teaching us how to discard false gods, actually, including medicine. So if I am given health, now let's put the axe in the story to the neck of medicine. What is required to give me health? For a healing, what is required? Because in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, for breaking of idols, we said that knowledge, will, power, how to grip an axe, walk through them, ability to move, or being angry with idols. All these were required, right? So for being healed, what is required? Any ideas? Let's think about a specific disease, tuberculosis.
What is required to heal?
I do think more biology
Tuberculosis,
classes.
you have to know what tuberculosis is.
At least, yeah. You need to know what it is, which bacteria, if it is a bacteria, causes it, how to attack it, where to find it in the body, because the medicine needs to go there. And while healing it, it shouldn't be damaging the body. It also needs to know how the body is working. As if, let's say, you are inviting plumbers to this building. Plumber needs to know where restroom is, how to open it up without damaging the whole system, whatever. I mean, it's not like blindly somebody comes in and with X open up. No, plumber.
It destroys the electricity
Yeah.
in the process.
Even this, I mean, it's an expertise. I cannot do plumbing. So you invite specific people for doing that. And they know how to do it. They have tools for that and everything. Now, the medicine that comes to my body needs to know how the rest of the body works. And also, my body is, again, part of this whole system of life. It's not, I mean, human is part of this chain. So as if, even for producing this medicine, for example, people study biology, chemistry, several things, and then they come up with this medicine. So how come then this medicine, without knowing anything, is it possible that, because this is what is coming out of this? Medicine comes in and you get cured. So can it be that this medicine has knowledge of me, knowledge of those sicknesses, has the power and will to heal me? It's not possible. Then what is healing me if it's not medicine? There has to be a healer. But it's not the medicine, then who? This is how the journey needs to happen. So I discard possible options. I say it cannot be medicine, it cannot be water. I cannot just get healed by myself. It doesn't happen just out of my overnight, or I was sick and I'm not now. It doesn't happen like that. So then who? So this is what Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah mean. I say that there has to be a God, but none of them are gods. But still there has to be a God. The Quran says name of this God is Allah. It's an Arabic word for God. So the concept is you are sure that something or someone, not thing, because consciousness is required, someone must exist. But he is not anything like a medicine. He is not anything like a doctor. He doesn't share any qualities of those, because their qualities were insufficient. The quality that is required is, again, since the beginning, this is what we are talking about. For somebody to heal me, he needs to know the life, how the universe is working. You cannot do a tiny thing in this existence independent of the rest of it. So who does everything can do one thing only. It cannot be otherwise. So if medicine cannot heal all sicknesses, it cannot heal a single sickness. Does it make sense? You look a little bit puzzled.
It also works opposite way. Like whoever does one thing can do everything, but then once you start thinking that medicine can start doing things, then you start thinking everything can also do things, and then God gets room for you, and you start becoming a slave of all these things.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense also, because it sounds like as if this the big idol can break small idols, or my sweater can lift it. So it doesn't make sense. I cannot accept that. It's because these basics are being ignored in there. Knowledge, power, will is being manifest, and the knowledge that is required is not a isolated knowledge. Medicine healing me needs to know not only my eye, it needs to know all my body. It needs to know human biology. It needs to know biology of all living beings, because everything is so much interrelated, right? And life is on this earth, this planet needs to know how the planet is working, how the planetary systems are working, Galaxies are working. Everything is so much interconnected. So knowledge that is required is not that much of a tiny knowledge. Medicine needs to know the whole universe if it is doing the job. So either I will assume, like in the example of idol has this power and this and that, or, which I know for a fact, idol doesn't know anything anyways. Therefore, it cannot be the idol, it cannot be the medicine. So if then we ask the question, the causes are not really doing the job, then what are they? Now the author is saying that they are veils. They are hiding as if the hand of power. So God is acting behind them. Because we already concluded that there must exist someone behind this cloth. There must exist someone acting behind this medicine. Medicine is not acting on itself. Somebody else is giving healing. He's just covering up his hand, if you like, metaphorically speaking, with a cloth. So medicine is a cloth covering his hand of power. He is the one that's acting immediately behind the medicine. It's not that he gives existence to this, then it creates this, it creates this. After a long chain, God is at the very beginning. Not like that. Behind everything, there has to be someone who is acting, and the same one. Okay. Okay. What time is it? I think we have time. Still half an hour. So
I kind of had about the veil idea. Something that came into my mind was, it says that they're a veil, and it says they're a veil for like the dignity and the grandeur, which I think is that's something I hadn't thought about in a long time. Which is that they say Allah only does things that are befitting of His Majesty, right? And so that's where the problem comes in of for example, if you look at Christianity, that like Jesus is a human version of God, and so He came to like literally, so like God became like the one that became like the direct cause of things. Like Jesus needed to do X, Y, Z in order to forgive sins and things like this. And then when you do that, I can see how that is gets rid of some of the dignity of God. Because, for example, like if I was, because the earth is kind of dirty, and the earth has problems, and the earth has issues, and God doesn't. So God wouldn't directly, the same way if something was dirty, I wouldn't touch it. I would put a glove on and then touch it. Like what you were doing with your sweater. You would do something like that if the thing you're touching is beneath you and you don't want to, you wouldn't directly deal with it. So that's something I thought really interesting.
But this dirtiness is in our initial perspective. So there are some of the things that are, so for the superficial view of human, there are something that's dirty. For example, death is a dirty business. We don't like death. Is death bad? Initially, yes, it is bad. But is it truly bad? Because if the most beloved of you dies, how would you feel? You wouldn't feel relieved. You would feel upset. We don't like it. We are not meant to like death anyways, initially. But this is why there are, and he's going to give the example of death actually. Creator is using veils covering death. What is the covers of death? Traffic accident, sicknesses, a bacteria or virus comes, and you say, oh, this guy died because cell malfunction, cancer. So as if now the cause of death is cancer, we say. But the author is saying that causes are a veil. Actually, cancer cannot kill you. God is the one that gives you death. But as if now cancer is a cover around this death so that his grandeur is going to be preserved for my superficial perspective. My superficial perspective meaning that initially I cannot see the truth of what death means. So I find it hard to attribute it to, or since I don't like it, wherever that is coming from, I don't like it either, too. And who gives me death? If someone says, let's say somebody lost their mother, and you come and say, God killed your mother, how would that person feel like? That's why they say it's too hard to tell children about death. Because if you say God killed your mom to a 6-7-year-old, they say it's very hard to, or you need to say it in a certain way, whatever. Because my mom taken away from me by God, as if my mom was mine, not somebody's taking away. Whoever takes my mom away from me must be evil. So, but this is initially how you feel about it. You need to be calm and think about it to arrive to a conclusion that actually death is not bad. Death has a meaning. But up until this happens, you need to have something else to attack. So causes are, one purpose of causes are to be this deflecting surface for you, so that you're going to see it. But if you get trained enough, then you will see God behind everything directly, and then you will realize that, yeah, death is good actually. Death is beautiful, or there's nothing ugly in existence.
And then you have contentment with the one.
Yes, you will be content. You will feel presence of Creator. Creator meaning that, because what kills us most is transience. For example, you don't like getting separated from your best friend. Why? Separation is killing us more than anything. Actually, death is separation, right? We hate death, we hate separation. So you don't want your youth to go away, because you love your youth, and your youth is dying. Old age is coming. We don't like that. But if I realize that actually this is nothing but just a passing, nothing is staying still here, but there is someone behind all these which doesn't die. The beauty that I love is that beauty. Then death becomes beautiful for you, because death becomes a reminder of life for me. Ever living becomes apparent to me through death. Take it this way. Over a cinema screen, if you were to see the same picture for 2 hours, how would you feel?
It's sleep.
Boring? So actually every frame is changing constantly. Every frame is dying in front of your eyes. A frame passes, a frame passes. This is what you call a movie. A movie is nothing but a collection of death. But you realize, if you're able to see the meaning behind it, if you realize that actually this movie, the purpose of movie is not to show a single image in there. The purpose of movie is to tell me a message by those transient images, but the message doesn't die. The message that is being given to you, the images pass, but the meaning behind those images stick with you. Even if you leave the cinema, if I tell you, what did you learn from that movie? If it's the best movie that you have ever watched, certainly some message would stick with you. And it will stay with you. You will know that this message doesn't die, metaphorically speaking. Death is life is passing by. Things are passing in front of our eyes. But if I realize they are actually giving me a message, an eternal message, which is ever living, which doesn't die, then death becomes good. You enjoy watching the movie. But if you get stuck with one of the frames and say that, no, I don't want this frame to pass, and this is what it is. My youth is a frame, and I don't want this frame to go away. If this goes away, I say, oh, old age, come to me. What am I going to do? Or it might be a beloved one. I don't want that person to go away. he should stay there, she should stay there forever. This doesn't happen though. Everybody that borns dies one day, right? Okay. So he says, not like a human king. So this example he gives, this part is very important. Creator has servants, but God's servants are not like the servants of kings. Servants of kings are doing actual job. But God's servants, which are like medicine, it's not that God created medicine and gave it ability to heal, and now the medicine heals me. I don't see that. I mean, in the existence, I don't see that medicine can heal me. So an explanation such as this doesn't make sense at all. We make such explanations because we start with God. We say that I believe in a God. For whatever reason, I start with that. Then I try to explain the existence from this initial assumption. Okay, there must exist a God for some reason. Then how about the medicine? I say, okay, God created medicine, gave the ability to heal to medicine, and now medicine is healing me. Does medicine heal me? Our discussion so far, we saw that in order for medicine to heal me, it requires an eternal knowledge, which it doesn't have. Therefore, such an explanation doesn't make sense at all. As a general summary for methodology, statements starting with God doesn't take us to anywhere. God created medicine, medicine heals me. Doesn't mean anything really. And it's not much different, if different at all, than Zeus created this and then that. What I experience is I see that I am being healed. What gives me healing? Options are medicine, doctor, water, this, that. I need to consider them. Can they give me healing? If they cannot, then I would say there must be someone who heals me. But it's none of them. He must be God. Such a thing I would call God, because it's not in the existence. But this is what formula, Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah. Allah comes at the end of the statement, not at the beginning of statement. If I can do that, then this is what author is describing as true affirmation of divine unity. Otherwise, it would be the other way around. The first one, it was saying that everything is created by God. It starts with God. The first person was starting with God. God creates everything. But then medicine is stealing the healership from God and saying that, no, medicine heals. This is how we believe, if we start with God. But if God is conclusion, then we are now truly safe and content, and can only then we can feel the presence of divine everywhere. Otherwise we cannot. I'm repeating a lot, but is this part clear?
What was the last thing you said?
So we shouldn't start with God, but God can only be the conclusion. This is what I was trying to say. Otherwise, it's going to have a lot of, it seems to be a simple distinction maybe, but the distinction between them is explained in here in the first version versus second version. And the first version, God creates everything, has a lot of consequences. Intentionally or unintentionally, God's dominion is being shared by a lot of things. Medicine being one of them, cookie being another of them. And if I'm thirsty, very beautiful example actually from Quran. So Quran says for the thirsty person, says, call, if you are thirsty, this is the example Quran gives. Imagine a thirsty man, but hands are tied, water is flowing from here. If you cry to the water, please water, come to my mouth. Can water come to your mouth? Quran makes us ask, can water from here get into your mouth? Because I am in need of water. Now ask the question to yourself, when you are thirsty and put the water into your mouth, is it water that quenches you? Water doesn't know you, water doesn't have mercy to you. You are so needy and water cannot come to your mouth from here to your mouth. It just keeps flowing. But water comes to Philadelphia from 100 miles away, ocean, every spring. How does water come from ocean to here? Does it know me? Does it love me? So since it doesn't have any of those qualities, there must exist someone, a merciful and knowledgeable, a powerful one, who takes water from the ocean and sends it down to me in here. And it cannot be water itself. It cannot be the law of heat evaporating water. It doesn't make sense. Okay. So let's go to the back of the page. I'm jumping the example over there. But let's read the following paragraphs until second flesh.
The further instance of wisdom in apparent causes is this. Causes have been put so that unjust complaints and baseless objections should be directed at them and not at the absolutely just one. For the faults arise from them, from their incapacity and lack of ability. A comparison is narrated which is in the form of a subtle example illustrating this mystery. The angel Azrael, peace be upon him, said to Almighty God, "Your servants will complain about me while I am carrying out my duty of taking possession of the spirits of the dying. They will be resentful towards me." So Almighty God said to him through the tongue of wisdom, "I shall leave the veil of disasters and illnesses between you and my servants, so that the complaints will be directed at them, and they will not be indignant at you. So see, illnesses are a veil. What are imagined to be the bad things at the appointed hour are attributed to them. And what are in reality the good things in the spirits of the dying being seized are attributed to Azrael, peace be upon him, and his duty. Azrael is also a veil. He is a supervisor of that duty and a veil to divine power, so that certain conditions when spirits are seized, which are apparently unkind and are inappropriate to the perfection of mercy, be attributed to him."
Let's program.
Yes, dignity and grandeur demand that causes are a veil to the hand of power and the view of the mind, while divine unity and glory demand that causes withdraw their hands and have no true effect.
So this example we also partially told for the death. Says those calamities, disasters are veil. Because initially we think that earthquake is very bad, and this is what killed my beloved one. Because we don't see the beauty behind death. But once we are able to see it, we say that, okay, no worries. It was not earthquake that killed. It's not a cause that actually creates results. It's just a veil. Behind the veils, the death was given by Creator. So the last sentence is really going to be the main theme of our discussions for the rest of the term. Dignity and grandeur demand that causes are a veil to the hand of power in the view of the mind, while divine unity and glory demand that causes withdraw their hands and have no true effect. Causes having no true effect. So it's not that they have partial, he says, no, not even partial effect. Medicine has no true effect in my healing. It's not that there are millions of things are required for healing. Medicine has only one of it. No, even not this one of it is in it. This cloth doesn't have even a piece of what is required to hold this. This is what he is claiming. So inshallah, beginning from next session, which will be not next week, but the week after. With the second flesh, this is what he is starting to do. Now he is starting to read those examples from existence, different examples showing different aspects, saying that causes have no effect. Behind everything, power, hand of power is acting directly. This light illuminating us in this room, or I am able to see. So is it the light illuminating room, or do I see because of my eyes? So think about all these causal relationships. This would be what we will be studying for the rest of the term, inshallah. Any comments, questions before we close?
I have a quick question. I'm having difficulty understanding. So, is dignity and grandeur demand that causes are veiled to the hand of power? Is this just so I don't get mad at death? Is this like the only purpose it serves, just to keep me from like getting mad at God right away? Or
I guess it is. Last week, not the week before, previous session, we were giving the example of one of my professors. You remember?
Yeah.
So it is considering human psychology. I'm not saying the only cause, the only reason for causes being there, but it's this is how I learn. Because human is given these, because do not look at it from God's perspective, look at it from my perspective. What I mean by that, I am a person who learns by experience, who learns by, I have intellect, I have also feelings. I'm not only consisting of intellect. And with my feelings, I also learn. So what happens is, something bad happens and I show a reaction towards it. I simply say, I dislike it. And my intuition is a disliking thing cannot come from someone that I like. So, and in life, not everything is learned in a pleasant way. So you don't like taking an exam, but without taking exams, you don't study for your classes anyways. So you need to take exam. So, but when the professor asks a tough question, you start feeling like this guy didn't like us. This is why he is asking tough questions. And these sorts of feelings are always in there. So, and the last week's example, you were not here. So a professor of mine, he is telling the example of his brother and father. So his father was owning a mechanics truck, fixing mechanics company. And his elder brother said that I don't want to study in high school. And he said he dropped out of school without telling to father. So father learns about it 2 weeks later when the teacher calls him saying that where is your son? He's not coming to school. And he goes and asks to son, what's up with you? He says, I dropped out of school. I don't want to go to high school. He says, okay, well, you cannot live like this. So you better go and get a job. He says, okay, I'm going to work in your company. He says, no, don't work in my company. Father and son in the same company, it's not a good idea. So he sends his son to his father, sends it to uncle's company. Uncle also owns same sort of a mechanics company. But when he sends the son to there, he tells to the uncle, when he comes, let your workers be very harsh against him. Use very vulgar language, sometimes beat him, be harsh to him. So son goes there, and when they ask for a wrench, he says, he just throws the guy working there, throws the wrench to him, bring this to me, whatever, just very harsh. So after 1 or 2 weeks, the brother drops out of job, goes back to school. And the professor was saying that now he's a medical doctor. This brother, eventually he studied high school because he saw that it's very hard. So he studied university, now a medical doctor. But later on, he realizes that actually it was his father behind the scenes acting. But he didn't want to mess up with his son because then his son is going to become an enemy of him because he wouldn't understand what the father is trying to do in there. He needed to take a lesson, but this sort of a lesson is not being given that easy because humans' feelings are those youth days. You're like, this blood is very hot. mad-blooded, we would say in our language. So,
Do
but
parents these days use this?
I don't know.
Huh?
It would be criticized. But, yeah.
I mean, not that, but I'm just this idea of
Yeah.
not trying to be the one that the child gets mad at.
Actually, because in even
You know.
Islamic tradition, people send their kid to another teacher. They don't teach their own children because it is hard for children to learn from their parents because of this emotional relationship. So they say, okay, I send my son to him, he sent his son to me.
I know Shiuk who do this, right? I know Shiuk who do this.
Oh yeah,
Still,
Currently,
yeah.
because this relationship is not father-son relationship is more
The
like a
emotional
love.
complicates
Yeah.
it, so you can't necessarily think.
But the teacher relation, I mean, an external person, it's
different.
easier. So in such a case, for me being emotionally involved and not being able to see the message behind it, I might react. Because in that example, if the relationship between father and son is broken at that point, it's going to be very hard to mend it. But for the uncle, it's easier, an outsider. But once the son realizes what's behind it, the father comes and says that it wasn't me. Actually, I told your uncle to be harsh with you. And now he even appreciates this. Although it was harsh for him, now he likes it. Oh, father, thank you. Otherwise, I would become this illiterate mechanic. But now I'm a medical doctor, so I'm happy with you. I thank you for the... So this is one reason. Another reason that we called was without Wales, we cannot reason. A practical reason that makes sense to me to say that causes should have been there, and they are there for that person, for that purpose. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين الفاتحة